Welcome back to the Stock Car Show. Welcome to the biggest episode of the season. This is the BriSCA F1 Stock Car 2025 World Final Special. What weekend we have in store: 64 cars, the overseas cars on Friday, 103 cars on Saturday, and 102 cars also make the trip to Mildenhall for the World Masters. I'm once again joined by James.
Hello.
Demo. And Josh.
Hello there.
And we're going to talk about this weekend's World Final and throw some predictions in there too. So the first question to the boys is, we take a look at the first three rows. What's your thoughts on that group of drivers and some of the overseas drivers that could find their way to row 3?
I mean, yeah, those front three rows are going to be obviously very quick. Tom Harris, can't count him out. The man is unreal around Kings Lynn. He's unreal everywhere. He's trying to get a 6th world title, and Kings Lynn is, like I said, one of his best tracks. But alongside him, the man who has been unbelievable on tarmac, Callum Thornton in 368. Whilst he may not have much trail experience, he's looked pretty good towards the end of the meeting a couple weeks ago at Kings Lynn, so he could surprise us, that's for sure, with the pace he picked up towards the end of that event. But also on row number 2, you've got Frankie Wayman Jr. in 515, who's there as well. Right behind Tom. 2019, if you go back to 2019, you'll remember Frankie just sent Tom into turn 1, rattled him into the wall. Although it didn't pay off that time, Frank could get a better hit this time round, as he's not alongside him, instead he's behind him. So we'll see what happens there. And Matt Newson in the 16 machine obviously won the World Cup at Venray not too long ago and is in good form. He was a bit unlucky at Kings Lynn last time out, however this could be a change of fortune for him. He always goes well round Lynn, so we'll see how he gets on. And the overseas row, there's so many quick Dutch drivers and New Zealand drivers as well. Jack Myers picked up a win 2 weeks ago, and obviously you got a whole host of very, very quick Dutch drivers who have shown pace around Kings Lynn before. Examples being Wib de Vries, who got a win or 2 at the Speed Weekend last season, and obviously Jala Grodanis in H229, who could be a good shout in there as well. So many other good drivers there: Jelle Tesla and Wim Peters, Gert-Jan Klock. It's going to be interesting. We'll obviously have a look at the time trials once they happen, but it's going to be very competitive in those first 3 rows.
Well, the first 3 rows, I know Tom Harris, he's not had the best start to the year. Obviously not been finding the pace around Kings Lynn, from what I've been hearing and what I've been obviously seeing. A lot of other drivers have been coming through taking points, obviously at several other tracks. He only just managed to get his 100th final win this year, so it's kind of, in my personal opinion, it's a bit difficult for Tom at this point. He's only just started finding the pace to actually start getting wins, so it's going to be difficult on the night, I think, to find the pace. But if he can find it, hats off to him. I reckon he'll get away well. Callum Thornton, from what I've seen, he's had an unbelievable season in the new tarmac car. Again, haven't really seen much of his shale form. I think this is his day. No, not his debut on shale, is it?
This
not
is like 3rd meeting this year on shale, but overall probably his 5th or 6th.
So there we go then. The man's not that much experience on shale. So this could be make or break for him. He either needs to find another gear and pick up like the technique of getting round Lynn quickly, or it's not gonna be a very good world final for him. I mean, Frankie Wayman Jr., that is the big talk. He's starting exactly where he was last year, behind Tom Harris. Will we get to see an exciting stock car race again? I'd like to think so. Can Frankie do what he wasn't able to do last year? Possibly, if the form's there. But at the end of the day, not only the form, his driving's got to be there, the car's got to be there, and so forth. And obviously, the Mad Dog, Matt Newson, recently won his World Cup Championship at Venray. Well done, big well done to him. Obviously, we all knew it was coming at some point. It was just a matter of when. Can he win a world final? I'd like to think so. But it's it's one of them things. A world final is a lot bigger than all these other championships. They always try and go that bit extra mile for the world final. So, will we possibly see some big crashes with Magnussen involved? I've got a feeling he might get involved, but then again, I'd like to hope he doesn't. So then that way it will create a bit more of an exciting stock car race. Now the overseas, I've got a good feeling Yeli Tesla will possibly be in that third row. I don't know if Richard Falconer. I don't know if he's in
No,
the
he's not, no.
overseas. Right, okay, then that rules that out completely for me. Yellow Gradanis, I don't know if that's how you say his name correctly.
James knows.
Jalla Grey
Yep.
Dennis.
Yep. Again, he's a fast driver on shale from what I've seen. Can he possibly get on that third row? Maybe. Roy Petom or Petum?
Batum, I think. Yeah, Batum.
Yeah, another good driver. Might be quick. Like I say, there's so many drivers in obviously the overseas entrance.
Quickly looking at his sheet, it looks like Giustiani Gradanas, however you say it, I do apologise, is a wild card, so I believe he has to start at the back. Just quickly looking at the sheet, so I think he's got to start at the back.
Basing on the history of the World Championship final strictly at Kings Lynn, because it's the venue that the race is being hosted by, at least 3 out of the 5 so far, out of the 5 championships we've had so far, 3 of them, the winners came from the front row, with Tom Harris, Rob Speak winning it, and also I think it was Tom Harris again, possibly. Sorry, no, Andy Smith won it in 2009 on the outside of row 1. So that row is always going to be a popular choice in Kings Lynn World Finals, considering 3 of them won. The furthest, actually, funnily enough, the furthest back a winner has come from is actually row 4 in 2007, which was the first World Final at Kings Lynn with Stuart Smith Jr. on outside row 4. So that could be a throwback for you going into this one, because on row 4 this year on the outside is Carl Hawkins. So that could be a interesting placement if that comes into fruition for the 70th anniversary. But Callum Thornton, who's, if this was a tarmac meeting, I would say right now he would be the winner, because he's been absolutely on rails when we've seen him at Cowden Beef and Skegness. But unfortunately, with that inexperience with Dale, I mean, he's done a few meetings, but you really do need to get your experience out there with shale, because it can be a really tough terrain if you're not sure what we're doing. And plus, with the weather forecast saying that it might get wet, that's another thing adding to the stress as well. So it could get very chaotic pretty quick for the front row. And obviously Frankie Wayman Jr. being on the second row is a big deal. Matt Newson as well. They're 2 of the top names of 2025 for sure. And obviously Frankie Wayman Jr. is on the Mount Rushmore of stock car racing as well. So he's going to be definitely one to watch. And Frankie, unfortunately, when it comes to Kings Lynn, he's usually the runner-up. So we'll just have to wait and see. And obviously last year's was very infamous for when he did the last bend lunge. So hopefully we get to see Frankie win at Kings Lynn. And for the overseas entrants, I mean, every time they come over to Kings Lynn, especially this year, they've been absolutely fantastic. I mean, obviously, not particularly for the overseas entrants this time, but Sid DeVries one sticks in my head immediately. He's been absolutely fantastic, a Netherlands driver who's been absolutely on top form. I mean, going through these overseas entrants, one that sticks out immediately is from New Zealand, is Jack Myers, who had that fantastic win recently in the consolation semi-final, winning the consolation race, which was absolutely fantastic to see. And obviously with these Netherlands Dutch drivers like Jelle Tesla, who's been a fantastic driver, and De Vries H618, who is always on top form, in my opinion. It's going to be really interesting to see how they get on Friday night, because I know the main event is happening on the Saturday, but don't count all your buttons yet, because although the main course is on Saturday, Friday might as well be a dessert, because we're going in for a treat.
And I also just point out one more thing, Demo, as well. The last wet world final we had for the F1s was 2016, and guess who won that? Frankie Wayman Jr. So we'll see we'll see if that gives him any favours with his experience.
I mean, that was a really wet day. I remember being there. God, that before the meeting especially, Jesus Christ, that came down a lot.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was semi-dry-ish for the start of the world final, dry throughout the race. But yeah, Frankie did take the win when it was last considered wet. You mentioned him before, but after winning the World Cup in Venray, Matt Newson says there's no pressure and everything now is a bonus. Is this the mentality that has been needed from Newson to get a full gold roof?
I mean, although it can possibly good because the pressure's off, you need to have that winning mentality, especially in a world final when the grid is so stacked with talent from Britain to the Netherlands, elsewhere. You need to have a winning mentality, and you've got to go all out to win it. Obviously, I know he wants that gold roof. He's been trying for over 2 decades, but you know, you've got to have that winning mentality, and I think he's more than capable of doing it if any carnage happens in front of him. I mean, I wouldn't say he's in the greatest spot. Road 2 outside, that's going to be a bit carnage filled around him. However, if he can survive, and if anything happens in front of him and he can just about part the seas, then Matt could be in with a good shout here. Could be very fascinating to watch Matt Newson. Obviously, his local track, so... And he is good at Lynn, like I said before. So Matt Newson could really fancy his chances if he manages to get away and not get in any trouble. But I do think he needs that winning mentality. And like I said, whilst, yeah, it can be good to have not much pressure, again, world final is just different gravy. So we'll see how he gets on.
What is there not to talk about? He's had several years in the sport, fighting hard, wanting the gold. He come close several times over. He's got himself up there in major championships. Can this be his year? He's already won the gold stripes. Can he make it a full gold roof? We'll just have to wait and see.
I understand what he's trying to do, because it is one of the most stressful times of the year, the World Championships, and when you're sitting on that grid, it must be the worst feeling in the world, because you're mentally just rushing. Your brain is going as fast as they're about to go on track, because you're just thinking, what's going wrong? Is the tyres alright? Is the brakes going to work? Is everything going to work? So for him to come up with a stress reliever, I can understand that. But again, he has to keep his eye on the prize, because he can't let his World Cup victory be the distraction. And he also doesn't want to make it like, oh, if I can win that, this is going to be a piece of cake. Because, I mean, obviously, Matt Newson's not intended on that. But you've got to have a clear mindset that you're going into this with some of the best drivers in the business. Although we know you're capable of being one of the best in the business, you've got to realise you've got, 30 competitors out there gunning for it, and they all want the same thing. And when you're at the front, that means you are straight away the target. So you just got to better hope and pray you can get round that corner.
Callum Thornton has been one of the drivers of the year, spectacular tarmac form, only just coming to shale since the start of the shootout in an ex-Paul Harrison car, starting his second world final on the outside front row. There's bound to be some pressure, but is this the passing of the torch, some would say?
I mean, it's shale. It's not his preferred surface. He's had excellent success on tarmac this season. However, he's only had a couple meetings on shale so far this year, and he's still not familiar with that car yet. However, he was getting better towards the end of the last Kings Lynn meeting a couple weeks ago. So this could change things up a bit. He could have a lot of pace going into this, but obviously lack of experience with so many top drivers behind him and around him. It'll be tough, but he keeps his head in the game. If he manages to stay out of trouble, he could be on for a top 10 finish. We'll have to wait and see. It's a race of attrition every single year, the World Final. It's absolute mayhem. If Callum keeps his nose clean, could get a good finish. I don't know if he'll win it. We'll have to wait and see, but obviously, it's stock car racing, anything can happen. He will really fancy his chances, I'm sure. And even if he doesn't come away with the win, I'm sure this will be valuable experience for him on the shale for the rest of the shootout.
With Callum Thornton, obviously, like I said earlier, his tarmac form has been literally unstoppable. You cannot stop the man on tarmac. However, shale, like I said earlier, he's not that experienced. If he was to win it on shale, I reckon it would shock a lot of people. It would shock the crowd, it would shock the drivers, it would shock hundreds and hundreds of people. But to be racing in Paul Harrison's old car, the way you got to look at it is, if he can win it, that'd be one thing. But winning it in a legendary car, just like that, with very little shale experience, I mean, that will not only be a passing of the torch, but it would just be a moment that the man will never forget.
Well, he's got a lot on his plate, especially being with the inexperience with the shale. But I in my head, I just think that, especially with how Frankie Wayman Jr. can be very aggressive, putting the bumper in, he'll be definitely like, he'll be like, get out of my way, Thornton, I'm trying to get to Harris. I mean, if he does do it, Callum Thornton, he'll be seen as like the top underdog of the F1 stock cars, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just that the inexperience and well, you need to have the perseverance to be able to win sort of races like this, and I definitely think Callum will do everything he can. It's just, in my mind, the inexperience will be a part of the downfall when you're dealing with so many veterans who know what they're doing, who've raced the Kings Lynn World Final before, and know how tough the terrain is sometimes in the conditions it's in, and it definitely will be a race of experience. And unfortunately, in my opinion, I think Callum, he could surprise us, which is always a lovely thing to see in stock cars if there is a surprise, but at the moment I think he's just going to be an underdog, and he could be a hero or it could be a zero.
Some drivers are further down the grid than maybe they would like to be, like Lee Fairhurst, Dave Polly and even Jack France. Is there any drivers mid-pack to the back that you think has got the speed and can get towards the front as quick as possible?
I'm looking at 4 drivers that are pretty much right at the back of the grid, one of them being in the middle. So Ashley England is one of them in 346, the blue top. Another blue top who I'm looking at is 216, Jack France, who is on row 11. And then on row 14, well, there's 2 drivers on row 14. I'm looking at the blue top of 124, Kyle Gray, and the red top of 418, Niels Tesla. These guys are unbelievable around Kings Lynn. Absolutely phenomenal, and I think they could really shock a lot of people, whether that's like a top 10 finish or hell, maybe 1 or 2 of them will go even higher than that. We'll have to wait and see, but no, these guys are top talents around Kings Lynn, and whilst not many people will be looking at them as such, I think they will surprise people when they are somewhere in like the top 5, or at least 1 or 2 of them in the top 5, maybe top 6. Don't sleep on these people. If they survive the mayhem on the opening laps, they could surprise a lot of people, especially Niels. Niels is very quick around Kings Lynn. He's gotten 1 or 2 wins on shale this year. Whilst at different tracks, yes, he has shown good pace at Kings Lynn, so do not sleep on these drivers. And like you said, Dave Polly, Lee Fairhurst, Danny Wayman, people like that, they're going to be ones to watch out for as well, considering Lee Fairhurst has been great around Kings Lynn in the past. So, again, we'll have to see what happens. Dave Polly, the shale specialist, yeah, they're going to be good to watch.
Well, I don't really know what more can be said. with obviously the people that are further back. Lee Fairhurst got through in the consolation semi-final at the last World Final. The man was on pace on tarmac. I haven't really seen much of his shale pace this year, but he's made it on the World Final grid, so that stands for something. Frankie Jr., well, from going from a blue grader, basically the superstar, I believe, if not
Yeah,
mistaken.
superstar.
Yeah, but that was on tarmac. So can he keep it in the World Final and maybe add a championship to that roof? Like I say, it's one of the things we're going to have to wait and see on that one. Dave Polly, like James said, he is the shell specialist. He can pilot his tractor, as he calls it, round Northampton. He can pilot it round Kings Lynn. Probably not as good as Northampton, but probably just getting there. Like I say, if you adjust to the setup and whatnot, he might get there with it. However, though, Ashley England in 346 is the only blue grader in that group. I mean, we've had a lot of blue graders in the BriSCA F2s winning championships. Can Ashley England prove that not only BriSCA F2s can do it, the BriSCA F1s can also do it as well? It's one of them things you're going to have to wait and see. Can he pick his way through? Can he keep the pace? Can he make sure he has no mechanical failures? It is a question of we will find out on the night. And like I said earlier, Niels Tesla, another one. He may be further back, but him and Yelly can both know how to handle their cars around our shale tracks in the UK. So Niels is definitely going to be one to watch out for. But the two also right at the back before the last 6 overseas drivers, Charlie Sword and Finn Sargent. Charlie, former world champion. Finn Sargent, former British champion. Like I say, these are names that they know what to do in order to win it. They know what to do in order to win a championship of some sort. Just can they do it on the night? Again, that is a question only they can answer, and only what will happen can answer.
Well, I'll be honest. After what happened at the consolation semi-final at Kings Lynn, my eyes are immediately drawn to 55 Craig Finnegan, because he was absolutely on rails at the semi-final when he won his race. And if he drives like that, I think he could be the next world champion for sure. And I mentioned the consolation semi-final, but Finn Sargent and Charlie Sauder, they were absolutely doing crazy stuff. And Finn Sargent is especially impressed me when I watched him at the consolation semi-final, because he's battling Casey Engelstone and he's literally back every corner, lunging to overtake them, getting caught up, lunging, getting caught up, lunging, and is still able to maintain the pace to catch up and still overtake, and still, like with like 2 or 3 laps to go, keep that second place. I think, even though he's right at the back, out of the ones we know about so far, not including the overseas drivers, obviously, he's going to be one to watch out for as well, because I think that Sergeant in his last name will be really telling if he's in command of the race right in the early stages of the race. And another one that speaks up to me as well is Jack France, who had a pretty decent run at the consolation semi-final, because I'm basing this a lot on the drivers I've watched at Kings Lynn specifically, because obviously it's at Kings Lynn, so I'm thinking who has really good performances this year at Kings Lynn. Bobby Griffin has been okay, I think, especially early in the season, but I think those two drivers, Finn Sargent and Craig Finnegan, are going to be the ones to watch for me in my eyes.
Two drivers who have had their conflict before, especially in a world final at Kings Lynn. Pole position, the defending 5-time champ Tom Harris looking to make it 6th, 40 years after Stewart Senior won his 6th, and inside row 2, Frankie Wayman Jr. looking to take his 4th gold. Frankie said he's going all out for it. What does that turn 1 look like in your head between these two?
An interesting bit of trivia is both these drivers could make history with the number 40 here, because obviously, like you said, Tom could make it 6 world titles 40 years after Super Stu won his 6th, but also Frankie Wayman Jr. could, if he wins on Saturday, he could wear the gold going into his 40th season in his BriSCA Formula 1 career. So very interesting bit of trivia there, and I cannot wait to see what Frankie Wayman Jr. will get up to in that world final race. Obviously, we saw what he did in 2019 into turn 1, just rattled Tom Harris into the wall. Tom managed to bounce off and Frank came off worse. However, Frank had pace, so we'll see how those two get on. Tom, obviously very, very quick around Kings Lynn. It'll be hard to catch him, but Wayman knows this. He's a very cheeky driver. He knows how to get good hits on people. He's very wise to what moves he can make. So don't be surprised if Wayman really shakes things up going into turn 1, because he really wants this, and he has been rapid all year long. So, and this is like the best form he has been in arguably since 2016. So who knows? We'll see how he gets on. Obviously, right behind Tom, he's in a good place to go for an attack. So it's going to be exciting to watch, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm in the same boat as James. After watching him these past couple of years, he knows how to create a very exciting stock car race. He knows he can prove to everybody that he can do it, obviously winning the World Championship, but like I say, he likes to entertain the crowd. So this is just, like I said earlier, it is one of them things. He's in the exact same boat as he was last year. He's right behind Tom. And if I can remember in the first couple of laps, first Matt Newsom done him, put him in the wall, he carried on going, and then Frankie done him, put him into a parked car, and they all bundled through the pile lap. So this turn 1 is looking very tasty. Turn 3 and 4 as well, looking very tasty. But it is going to all boil down to that last lap. Is there going to be anybody that's going to be right behind Tom, ready to strike, ready to put the bumper in, ready to basically do what they do on Wreckfest and send them into the crowd? It is one of them things you don't know until it happens, and I'm going to keep saying this probably until we're finished here, because like I say, we don't know what's going to happen. We're just waiting for an exciting night of racing and an exciting stock car race.
In my eyes, there's going to be a lot of mind games in the early stages of this final, because Frankie Wayman Jr. is a very intelligent driver. He knows Tom very well. He probably knows Tom more than Tom realizes. So it's going to be a lot of mind games, a lot of intelligent moves from Frankie and Matt Newson, trying to get under Tom's skin, and because again, you've got to think smart, think tactically, because I know people are immediately going to think, oh, well, he'll take Tom Harris out immediately, piece of cake, just spin him out. You never want to do that, because that always gives your opponent the chance, because isn't it 25 laps, these world finals for the F1? Okay, if you spin him out on lap 1, that gives Tom Harris 24 laps to catch you up. And we've seen what Tom Harris can do with a normal 15 lap race, 20 lap race. We know he's capable of like overtaking the pack and near enough lapping a field. So Frankie is very smart to know he's not going to take him out early on. because it will not only could potentially ruin his own race trying to get rid of him, you're just giving another reason for Tom Harris to catch you up, and obviously Tom Harris is going to be like, well, you hit me, I'm going to hit you. I've got a bumper, I might as well use it, and he's going to ruin your race. So it's going to be a lot of mind games, a lot of tactics, and I actually think that this is going to be one of the best World Finals to show how experienced these drivers are, because we're seeing drivers now, for the better part, have probably been against each other for a better part of over a decade now. Matt Newsom, Frankie Wayman Jr., Tom Harris, like they know each other so well, so it's going to be a lot of intelligent tactics, and it should be an absolutely phenomenal race between the three.
And lastly is our top 3 prediction. I'll go first like the F2s because I've actually put some thought into this. And like Demo said, I'm the opposite. I think Frank will deal with Tom turn 1. And my top 3 probably isn't the same as anyone's. In fact, it definitely isn't. Third place, I've gone for Dave Polly from inside row 8. I think he'll find a way through because, as we said, shale specialist. Second place, I've gone for 55 Craig Finnegan. You can never count Craig out, especially at Kings Lynn. I think he's got 3 podiums or 2 podiums at Kings Lynn World Finals. So he's definitely one to look out for. And this one probably will shock the boys in the chat and probably the viewers as well. My prediction to win the world champion, he's going to top the time trials and he's going to win the world final. Yeli Tesla is taking the gold to Holland. If it's wet, third I'm going to go for Lee Fairhurst. He was semi-decent at European weekend when the rain came. Second, I'm going to go for Frankie Wayman Jr. And first, making it 6, Tom Harris.
So, in the wet, I'm going to say third place, Frankie Wayman Jr. in 515. Second place, Dave Polly 138. And I'm going to go very similar to Riley here, but not the same Dutch driver. I'm going for Wib de Vries is taking the gold if it's a wet race. Wib de Vries in H618, very, very quick round Kings Lynn anytime he's been. So, yeah, Wib de Vries I think is the Dutchman that takes the gold back to the Netherlands. In the dry, third place, I'm going to go 55 Craig Finnegan. Second place, I'm going to go Dave Polly, 138. And the race winner of the world final in the dry, 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. So those are my 2 top 3s, whether it's a dry or wet race. There is the threat of weather, so you never know.
Two podiums in a row for Polly here in the predictions.
Right, so after listening to James's and obviously your predictions, I've got a feeling that the top 3 will be with third place going to Frankie Wayman Jr. Second place will go to number 1 Tom Harris, and my main pick will be 138 Dave Polly. If there's a wet prediction, I honestly think if we're doing wet and dry predictions, so that obviously my first one was dry. Wet, I think it will be Tom Harris in third, Yeli Tesla in second, and first will be Frankie Wayman Jr.
If it's wet, I think it will be Matt Newson in third, Tom Harris second, Frankie Wayman Jr. as the winner. If it's dry, I think the top 3 will be very different. I think the battle will cause so much havoc at the end that, in my opinion, third place, I think Finn Sargent will get third from where he is, because I think he'll do a great job battling through the pace. Second place to me, I think I'm going to have to go with Dave Polly. And in my opinion, the winner of this year's World Final is going to be number 55, Craig Finnegan.
Thanks again to the boys for getting involved. Hopefully they enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. Whether you agree or don't agree, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's see your predictions for this weekend's World Final. And we will see you all next week for the World Final review, where maybe we have a new world champion or Tom Harris is a 6-time champion of the world. Enjoy your weekend.